One.
Hello, and
everyone,
welcome,
welcome to the writer's class.
Yeah, see, I didn't know what podcast was going under, so I was gracious. And
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I thought you were going to keep on saying things because I had just taken a bite off of my Oreo.
I don't understand why you're eating Oreos when we're doing a show. Like, what is happening right now?
So I only eat Oreo on snow days. It's snowing, and I want to finish out the whole pack while it's still snowing. So I need to keep, I need to rush them down. Hence why I'm still eating.
Jade is just over here shaking her head. By the way, I'm Jade.
Oh, and I'm Winona.
The greedy person, apparently, because she wants to eat the whole pack of Oreos. Like, just by yourself. Stop eating the Oreo. Hold on. Put the Oreo down. You can have it in 20 minutes when the interview is done. Come on, Winona. Now you make me sound like a mom. Like, that's crazy.
Yes. I have succeeded in what I needed to do today. Because she called my words overweight once and old. So there we go.
You said that your words were big and
weighty.
And
weighty and mature.
Weighty and mature, that's overweight and old.
Anyway, we would be arguing
in
about
the definition. Choice. In the definition, like what a poet, right? So yeah. Anyway, we write we write literary life guides with power poetry. See, Winona, you just keep messing me up today. You and your Denver airport. And
and if you're wondering why we're talking about the Denver airport, go to the podcast before this.
Yeah. And I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons. And I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, a memoir in verse. Wow, you just changed. What are we doing today?
I'm just moving stuff around.
Woo! Okay. Well, what? See, this is why you don't touch
stuff around.
And that, yep.
And then the last one is The Women's Cave and Other Pop Poems, which this actually made it to #1 as a bestseller in poetry and anthology.
So for everyone on the podcast, let me tell you what happened. Like, she was moving around the computer, and guess what happened? It fell. That was like hilarious. I just wanted to say that. So you can find out everything your ladies are doing, and we do mean everything, even when Winona moves around the computer.
On her Oreo. It was for my Oreo. It was a good purpose.
www.andwethought.com. Now that we're done embarrassing ourselves, let's just...
I have just started.
You've just started to embarrass yourself. Sure.
Let's talk about wonderful guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi there, I'm Pat Valdata. I'm Parkersfield, Maryland. I'm a novelist and a poet, and right now the main thing I'm doing is talking to people about my new book, Eve's Daughters. So this is my newest novel, just came out a couple of weeks ago, and I'm super excited about that. And thank you, ladies, so much for having me on your podcast. This is fantastic.
Thank you. I think she's being gracious to us because, we terribly. All right.
At the beginning.
So let's talk about Eve's Daughter. What is it about? How did you get inspired to write it? And
I actually was listening to NPR on the radio in my car years and years ago, and someone was talking about the problems with the world really are men versus women, that age-old men and women thing. So I thought, maybe I ought to write about that, maybe kind of make it sort of mythological and see how that would go. So I actually, I did that. I started out, I thought I was going to rewrite Paradise Lost, and ended up just writing a little novella. And then I realized that wasn't quite enough. So I took another myth and wrote another novella and put them together in my book. So it's actually 2 stories in one, and where one novella ends, the other one begins. So you could read them in either order, and it still kind of goes.
This is wonderful.
Wow.
I'm loving this. 2 stories in one is always my sort of thing, because, I love a bargain. What we have here, people, is a bargain.
I love a bargain.
There you go. It's definitely a bargain, yeah.
So how long did it take you to write both novellas, and when did you decide they were better together than they were apart?
Oh boy, it took me a long time. I actually started this project in 2008, and I wrote the first draft over the next year or two because I always had a day job, so it was always very hard to be a writer with a day job. And so it took me a really long time. And then I've been trying to get it published probably for the past 5 or 6 years. And finally, luckily, Moonshine Cove said, yeah, we want to take a shot at it. And they like to publish unusual books, and this is an unusual book. So they went for it, and I'm so happy they did.
My narcissist moment, I'm using it early in the show. Can you tell us about how you felt when Moonshine finally did say that they would publish it? And later on, when we're off camera, can you give us more information? Because I have a very odd book that I'd like to get.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
How did you feel when they said yes?
Oh my gosh, it was so fantastic because I've been trying for so long and gotten so many rejections. Um, no writer likes to get rejections, even though it's all a part of poetry business and writing business. But it was so nice to get the yes. It really was. And I just kind of flipped and yelled and told my husband and kind of told everybody I knew, and was just so grateful to them. And they were wonderful to work with and really professional. So they made it an absolute pleasure.
That is amazing. I'm happy that you found a publisher that you could really get along with. There's so many horror stories out here, and there's so many wonderful stories. So I'm glad that you ended up being one of the wonderful ones. Now I have to ask about poetry because we do write poetry.
Yeah.
Pop poetry. So how did poetry play a role in your new novel?
Well, poetry kind of informs everything I write, because poetry, we pay attention to the rhythm of words, we pay attention to the sound of words, and I try to carry that through into my book. The publisher said it was one of the more lyrical books they've ever published, which I thought was a real compliment. But also in my poetry, I like to tell a story the way I do in fiction. So it doesn't matter which genre I'm in, I like to do both things. So all my work has story and I hope has good writing.
I love that. And when you said that's more lyrical, that's exactly what was in my mind. I was like, she's gonna say it's more lyrical, and I was like, she did. Which makes me like a real writer now. Because every time I write a book, they're like, it just kind of like it's like a sing-songy tone to it. And Jade goes, it's the poetry, and I'm like, I'm trying to be an author, a real genre author. And she's like, it's never gonna happen. Let it go.
No, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. I mean, and I think you can kind of tell when you read a lot, like, oh, this person has a background in poetry. It's just a lot of times it's the word choice. It's how you get like a bigger picture. Like you get the picture, but then you get the bigger picture, and you're like, it's the same words, but I see your hidden message, and the message. They're like, it's just one of those. They're like the message inside of a message. They're a poet. They're a poet.
I think if you love words, you're a writer, no matter whether you write poetry or fiction or nonfiction or whatever. But I think we all love words, and that's what brings us all together. So,
yeah, that's so very true. Very true.
So, as you were working your full-time job and trying to write, how did you carve out the time to write? And second, you said it was very hard. So, how did you overcome that challenge?
Very badly. Very badly. I'm a terrible procrastinator, for one. Mostly I was teaching when I was writing this book, and teaching, especially when you're teaching full time, there's just no time for anything else. When you're working 60, 70 hours a week for 16 weeks at a pop, it just doesn't work. So for me, the very best thing was to be able to go to a writer's residency where I could just put everything else aside and really focus. I find at a residency, I probably get 4 or 5 times as much work done in a given week than I can at home. Because there's just too many distractions here, I mean, today I was baking cookies instead of writing. This is not a good thing, But,
I understand. I have a book due in 4 days, and I'm doing anything. I literally went to go organize the garage.
Oh, I've done that kind of thing. Sure, gardening, closet cleaning. Got to vacuum today. Got to do laundry. It's really, really easy to let those things
organize the pantry. I did that the other day. I was like, I could write, or I could organize the pantry. The funny thing is I bought my computer into the pantry so I would be away from everyone, and then I sat it down and organized the pantry.
Yeah,
that's sad. But anyway, procrastination is the best way of writing, I feel.
Well, here's the thing. Even when you're procrastinating, I think there's a part of your brain that's still working on it. And you need to let it go sort of on autopilot and just let it keep working. And then when it's ready, you'll be able to sit down and write. So if you force it, that never works for me. I can't force a piece of writing. I have to just be there and let it come. And I know that it's working in the background. And then when it's ready, I'll have this need to sit down and write, and then it'll flow.
I love it. Thank you. You've given me a reason to procrastinate.
Absolutely.
That hit me at 4 a.m. this morning. I'm still tired and still mad about it.
So for people that are new, a lot of new writers, novices, listen to our podcast, watch our shows, what is a writer's residency and how would one go about getting one?
A writer's residency is like a gift from the gods. It is it's a chance to spend anywhere from 1 week to maybe 4 or 5, even 6 weeks, depending on your situation, at a place that is not your home, at a place where in general they feed you and they clean, they do the cooking, they do all the work, and all you have to do is your craft. There are a lot of places where it's writers, visual artists, and composers come together. Others are just for writers. The one I've been to the most is the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, and they are a phenomenal place. Obviously in 2020, there isn't anything like that happening. But it's just amazing to come together with maybe 20 or 30 other artists. And during the day, you're by yourself, you get your work done, it's quiet, nobody bothers you. And then in the evening, everybody's together and talking about their work, and the artists will hold open studios and the composers will play samples for you and the writers will do a little reading. And everybody's like just so into the work, and they just kind of, the energy from everybody just flows into you, and it's just amazing. There's just this wonderful synergy that happens, and you get so much done. It's really incredible. But not having to do any household chores at all is such a gift, and it's just so amazing to do that. It's really great. I mean, there are a few people who kind of freak out by it. They just, the fact that they don't have any responsibility except to their work, it can be intimidating, but you just have to kind of go there and just let whatever happens happen. It can take you a couple of days to get into the writing. People do things like take walks, take naps, eat a lot, snack, whatever, go shopping, whatever. But then you come into your writing studio and it's your own dedicated space, and you just can go. It's really wonderful.
Oh my goodness, this sounds amazing. It sounds just like you said, like a godsend. Of course, I would never be able to work in that circumstance because it would just, no, it's too sensitive.
She has to procrastinate.
I need my procrastination and my distractions. In fact, in order to write a book, I listen to an audio book.
Oh, there you go.
I can be distracted by the story. Anyway, Jade, no, I do have a question.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
do.
So my question is, number one, what's your writing process? And then number two, are you a pantser or a planner?
Half and half. I tend to write a really, really rough outline. But I find if I outline too much, then it just takes all the energy away from the writing. I'd much rather see what my characters are up to and have them dictate what's going to happen. So I patterned my one story in the novel after Adam and Eve. And what happened after they got thrown out of the garden was my main question, because I wanted to write about Eve, because we always forget, poor Eve, she gets the weight of the world dumped on her, and they say she made this one mistake, and look at what happened after that, right? So I wanted to make Eve the good guy in the book, and I wanted to write her story, and I wanted to write about her daughters because they kind of got edited out of the Adam and Eve story. So that was my basic framework. Okay, so something was going to happen and they were going to get kicked out of the garden. But after that, it was entirely up to them where they wanted to go, what they wanted to do, what kind of lives did they want to live, where did they want to live. It really was up to them. So I just kind of followed them as they went on this journey. And they ended up in Point Pleasant, New Jersey.
What an interesting place to have
It's very,
Huh.
Yeah.
All
Jade,
right.
our final question, I think.
Yes. Well, I think it's going to be like a two-part.
Oh, it's a two-part question. All right, go for it.
So where can people find out more about you and your books? And then what is next?
They can find out more about me on my website, which is www.patvaldata.com. I have information about all my prior books there. And what's next is I am working on my next novel. It's set during World War II. And I wanted to write about the women who built the planes over at the Martin Aviation plant in Middle River. And I met a few of the women, the Rosie the Riveters. I met a few of them a few years ago. They're amazing women. The stuff they did when they were kids is just remarkable. And I also wanted to write about the women who flew the airplanes, because that generation is dying out, literally. We're losing all those incredible people. And so I wanted to write about the women's Air Force Service pilots, because they were also incredible, the kinds of things they did, the discrimination they fought against, and their flying abilities was amazing. I'm a pilot myself, so I just admire all the women who did that so many years before I got the chance to do that. So that's basically the next project I'm working on, about 1/3 of the way through that. Wow. And after the holidays, I hope I can get back to it.
Absolutely. Wait, I did have another question.
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice, or one or two pieces of advice that you would give writers out here? Because you said that you kept trying to get this contract and you didn't get one, and you kept being persistent. How
Yeah.
did you?
Networking is a huge thing. I've always, I think anything I've gotten published has been because I asked someone, hey, who was your publisher? Were you happy with them? What was the experience like? And then sent a query and was able to use that person's name to say, hey, so-and-so recommended you guys to me. Would you like to take a look at my manuscript? But it's just being persistent. You can't let the no get you down for too long. And you have to just say, okay, well, that person just doesn't get what I'm trying to do. So let me find another publisher who will get what I'm trying to do. So you look at the kinds of books you write and see who's publishing them, and just kind of network your way through. But you have to just be persistent. Every time you get a rejection, you just have to send it right out again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Y'all check out her books.
Definitely. This Eve's Daughter sounds fascinating.
Thank you.
And can we hear the website one more time before we wrap up?
www.patvaldata.com.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate it.
Really do.
I guess I'll go ahead and
wrap us up.
All right, you can find out everything you ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. Well, Nona.
And there on the homepage, down in the little blue box, you can see the Ladies Tale podcast where professional actors read my TV script.
Also, there's interviews on there too. Yeah. Some amazing people have been interviewed.
But is that more important than the script?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Keep moving on.
Okay. More importantly, all of that, go to the ladies tab, go down the middle and see the charities that we probably support. Maybe you can support them too, even if it was just with a kind word. Like, thank you so much for doing this wonderful work in the world. At them on social media. We would appreciate it. And I'm sure they would appreciate it too. And just remember, y'all, the wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Will Nona
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, thanks for listening.